What's going on, everybody? We have returned. Yanni and Rare Adam are back as we head into the pro draft for game 3 of the Black Twitch League Grand Finals between Maria's Dungeon and the Dryads. Maria's Dungeon had a command in game 1, but the Dryads, they struck back strong and they lost that game?
Somehow, some way, Maria's Dungeon were able to claw it back from the grips of an 11,000 gold lead. The mystical 10,000 gold lead curse it's something that even the best of analysts don't know what happens, how teams can lose with that. But Maria's Dungeon, honestly, really well played from them in that latter half, especially off of Sweetie Pie, to get them back into it. But game 3 now on the docket. Hecarim, Fiora, Galio taken off the table for Maria's Dungeon. The Kiana, the Ziggs, and the Jax away by Dryads. And first pick potential here, gonna be something... oh, no. Oh,
Right,
no.
that's available. They let it get through the draft. They get the 4th ban for Maria's Dungeon. And, harkening back to last game, the Dryads, they pulled defeat from the clutches of victory, unfortunately, and there's just a big problem with that, and the fact that they did what no other team has proven to be able to do, and they shut down Expo, and it just did not matter.
No, Expo did not have a great first 20 minutes of that game.
Expo didn't have a good time at all that game. Yeah. Like, let's be real. Let's call it what it is. Expo didn't really do anything that game. Shifo at every turn turned him away.
And the only real advantage that Expo had was securing those objectives. And at the end of the day, the jungler is supposed to get the lanes fed and secure objectives. And while Shifo got the lanes fed, Expo got the objectives. And in the end, it was the objectives that ended up paying dividends for the side of Maria's Dungeon. But
I love this.
Who had a good game? You know who had a really good game? It was OP9 Lovers. On that vein, got a quadra kill. Had a fantastic game. Let's say it as it is.
No. The last couple of fights, they were put in really, really awkward positions. I mean, obviously, the Vagar does not help that. Well, they didn't buy a QSS, or if they did, they didn't use it properly to get out of the cage to get an angle, but they should have a little bit more help this time around. They're going to put OP9 Lovers back on the vein. They are going to put the support Pixel Wolf onto an enchanter, that Yuumi. So it was a Vayne Yuumi combination. As Maria's Dungeon, they stole the Seraphine. Maria does play their fair share of Seraphine. They're going to go with Seraphine Lucian.
Yes.
And the Graves as their jungle pick.
And this still could be Sweetie Pie Seraphine in the mid lane. There is still flex potential.
True.
One of the main things about the BTL meta that we've noticed is that Seraphine can be flexed between those two lanes. Can be even flexed as a bot laner. Obviously, here doesn't seem to be the case, but Vagar banned away from Sweetie Pie. They are scared of that event horizon just as much as we are. And we'll have to see how the rest of this draft shakes up, because lots of picks taken away from Sweetie Pie. The Vel'Koz is still available. The Kog'Maw is still available. This can get pretty scary from here, because they need to try and pick a winning matchup for Yucca, where Fishing Frenzy will have some level of counter pick potential here. Most likely going to be a tank coming through, but with Sweetie Pie's picks, I don't know if Tanner has anything that can punish the likes of a Vel'Koz or a Kog'Maw. Oh.
Aatrox, that can certainly punish an immobile carry, and it looks like that is going to be the lock-in. However, that we'll see how well that would actually do. Aatrox, not really a champion that you typically see anymore, and they are going to put that into the hands of Yucca. Don't really know too much about their Aatrox, have to be honest with you, but you put a Yuumi on an Aatrox, that sounds really hard to deal with.
And to be fair, Yucca does have a very nice Aatrox. They have played it before in BTL. I believe it was a victory, because I'm pretty sure Aatrox only has a couple of victories, and one of them is from Yucca. I believe the other one is from one of the Glacial teams that pulled it out. But their Aatrox is... And Aatrox can be very strong in the right hands, given an advantage. Malphite makes it a little bit harder because of how much armor you build up, but this is the flex that I was talking about. The Nami late pick here, meaning that the Seraphine flexes to that mid lane. You still get your Lucian Nami combo, but you just debated the entire team into thinking that that was a Seraphine support.
Yeah, and that really changes a lot of the complexion of the draft. Aatrox and Trundle, very run at you champions, and Seraphine's like, yeah, that's fine. However, I love the last pick Sylas here.
Yeah, Sylas has a lot of really strong ults to steal Malphite, and can really Malphite ult turn around the Malphite ult. A lot of these fights with Malphite ult.
Stop that! Malphite ult is great, but what are you gonna do when Malphite ult's on cooldown? I'll just
a Nami ult. Seraphine ult. Graves ult is good to clean someone. I don't know. There's this really cool thing called
you are never picking those two if you can avoid it. There's no way that all three of the impactful teamfight ultimates are going to be on cooldown at the exact same time. It's just not possible.
Yes.
I love this draft out of the Dryads. Yeah. The Dryads have drafted a really interesting team composition that team fight's okay. They're really run at you type deal, so it's not excellent. The onus is going to be on Sylas to be able to take these impactful ults and make them happen. But you pair that up with a Yuumi and her final chapter as well. You can do some damage, and now all of a sudden you got Vayne, Trundle, Aatrox running at people. But all of these champions on the Dryads benefit huge from having Yuumi on top of them.
Yeah, and Yuumi is one of those champions that can be so impactful in the slightest of ways. One of the main things that Yuumi does is just give you straight up AD or AP. You have the Yuumi on top of you, there you go, 50 AD. And of those champions that really appreciate that, Aatrox is one of those, because Aatrox likes to build a lot of those bruiser items that give you a decent amount of AD, but a lot of other stats attached to it. If you just end up with an Aatrox getting an extra BF sword worth of damage because Yuumi's in the game, you're going to take that every day of the week. On top of the fact that you get the zoomies, you get to move faster, plus the World Ender. On top of the fact that you're going to get a whole bunch of healing. On top of the fact that you can just dish out the damage onto someone like a Seraphine, a Lucian, a Nami. It's just that Aatrox needs to get to that point where they can just stand in front of the enemy team and say, ha, 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 and do whatever they want.
Isn't that what Malphite does? But that's beside the point.
Malphite does go, ha ha, you will lose. And Aatrox goes,
you will lose.
I am the enemy! Something like that.
You will lose. Maria's Dungeon, Lucian and Graves have a little bit of mobility to them. Graves, obviously, a little bit less mobile than Lucian, just because the Relentless Pursuit just comes up faster than Quick Draw. But other than that, the side of Maria's Dungeon isn't super mobile, so once Trundle, Aatrox, Sylas are able to get on top of them, it is going to be difficult for Maria's Dungeon to really try to disengage a fight without using their ultimates. If they use their ultimates and the dust is settled, it's like, oh, well, they're still alive. We are in a world of trouble. I don't know if they have the damage to be able to cut through a Trundle and an Aatrox with a Yuumi on top of them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation if they get to that point, because, as we mentioned, Lucian does not have an amazing late game. It is good, but it is not amazing. It is passable with the Nami, and I think that is what the main thing that kind of leads to that advantage. Another point is that you have this Lucian Nami combo with the Seraphine, and then your other damage dealer is a Graves, which sort of brings into question the fact that Trundle can build straight armor and generally be okay, because Seraphine isn't going to be a huge damage dealer throughout this game. Albeit we could see Sweetie Pie go for a more AP-focused build with that Leandri's, which does provide enough magic damage to warrant at least Merc Treads or some magic resistance, but overall it's going to be really difficult for the side of Maria's Dungeon this game to get back into this one because of how the damage distribution is laid out.
One thing that you mentioned that I just thought of now, when you mentioned building armor, the Dryads just being able to build armor against the two carries of Lucian and Graves, it got me thinking about Malphite and how Trundle's subjugation, the only good target is Malphite. Malphite is going to be the target every single time. He is not going to have any armor. It's just going to all be taken away.
And this isn't a bad thing for Shifu to only have one target for it. Can use it, of course, on Graves, who ends up getting a decent amount of armor with those quick draw stats. Can just use it as that extra little bit of damage and, utility to catch someone. But overall, in a team fight, it's just alt Malphite, have some fun. And it's going to be important to see how Tanner is able to play the Sylas into the enemy team with how many impactful ultimates there are. If the Sylas can't get off the ground or can't find these ultimate engages that they really need to, it's going to be really difficult for OP9 lovers and Pixel Wolf to be able to survive, because once again, this is Lucian Nami breathing down your neck. This is a Graves who's going to want to gank this Yuumi a whole lot, and Malphite is indiscriminate when it comes to engaging. If there is a Vayne anywhere in the vicinity, whoever is within the Malphite ultimate radius will get hit, because a Malphite doesn't care. Malphite is a rock. The rock just goes in. So if Yuumi detaches at the wrong time and Fishing Frenzy's popping out of a bush, Yuumi dies. Just no questions asked. Just dies.
Listen, sometimes, Italia always says throw another rock, but what happens when the rock you throw is knocking up a ton of people and dealing a lot of damage? You talked about how a lot of the game is on Tanner's shoulders, and I would agree. I don't think Tanner has performed up to the level that we've really expected them to. Their Galio play was pretty solid, but it wasn't like wowing anybody. It feels like he's just kind of been there. And we talked about it last week. Players that need to sometimes just give more to their team. Tanner is in that exact same position. Team's back against the wall. Somebody has to do something.
And realistically, everyone on this side of Dryads needs to step up. They had game 2 in their hands, and now we're looking at 2-0 for Maria's Dungeon. That doesn't happen unless there were some sort of mistakes. But you can't hold on to those mistakes. This is not the time to lick your wounds and say, oh, no, I could have played this better. This is the time where you say, literally, game 2 didn't exist. We win this game, and that's all that matters. And that is the mentality that Dryads have to have going into this game 3, because it is win or go home for them.
Hey, that's my game too. Great. Now let him have it. You can have it. No.
Okay.
That's just exactly what happened in game 2. But you know what? You are right. They have to put that out of their minds. They have to pull it together. They have to play like every game is their last, because it is their last. It's just a best of 3. They just have to win all 3 of them. You got to win the last 3 promo games. You went down 0-2 in your promos, and you got to reverse sweep. And you know what? There have been some great teams to make some reverse sweeps. We are hoping to see another one here, but we are going to cut away for a very short break to get the Rift all prim and proper for potentially the crowning of a new champion in the form of Maria's Dungeon, or can the upstart Dryads extend this series and force a game 4? We will be back with the Black Twitch League Grand Finals very soon. All right, everybody, we are back. It is game 3 between Maria's Dungeon and the Dryads. Maria's Dungeon back on the blue side for game 1. The Dryads forced back onto the red side. Their team composition looks pretty strong. Maria's Dungeon potentially looking to do something crafty here. So they all sat behind that mid wall. They've gotten the jump onto Shifo, trying to force him away. Do they have the CC? The bubble does not land. A thumbs up. Trundle is A-OK. Although he does lose half of his HP for that. One ward put down, but that's it.
Yeah, and it's going to be answered on the bottom side of the map here, of course, by the Vayne Yuumi. So no real love lost between these two teams. They're going as aggressive as ever. Expo and Reeve, of course, still looking for some sort of cheese play. They might be actually able to sneak into the blue buff behind here. And never mind, there's a control ward that was placed down by Yuumi. So no pots in lane, but a control ward. Interesting option for Pixel Wolf here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're not expecting Pixel Wolf to detach too much, especially against this aggressive lane in the first place. But that's going to force them to play very safe in this bottom lane, because if they're playing dangerously, Yumi's going to burn through her mana pool very quickly.
And one thing about Yuumi that I think needs to be mentioned is that even if she is Yuumi and gets chunked out very easily, she's still a champion that has auto attacks, and auto attacks are your biggest friend if you are a ranged support. Regardless if you're facing a ranged support, you need to get that Spell Thief's Edge stacked up as quickly, if not quicker, than what Maria will do. And of course, with your passive on Yuumi, you need to make sure that you are getting that little laser auto attack down as soon as possible. But
you know, forgot to mention that when the Trundle did get engaged on, Maria opened with Bubble instead of E. And that's really not something you really want to do when you have the Electrocute in this bottom lane. You lose a lot of your power early on, because you see that they're level 2, but the wave is pushed into the turret. There's not really too much that Reeve is going to be able to do unless OP9 Lovers just walks into him like that, which really shouldn't be happening. So, I look like an idiot now, but that's... I mean, stuff like that is really risky play out of OP9 Lovers.
yeah, this is a little bit rough in terms of laning phases for the side of Dryads. You can see in the mid lane even, Tanner's just taking it on the chin from Sweetie Pie, who did go for the Arcane Comet, so obviously going to go a little bit more of that damage-focused Seraphine, but looking at how everyone else is moving around this map now, you can see a decent deep ward there by Maria to spot out exactly where Shifo is going to be, as thus far, Expo has gotten the jump in terms of pathing.
And that's a perfect ward out of Maria. That isn't getting seen by the control ward. So that's really smart. However, it does look like Shifo is down there. We'll put up the pillar. Pixel Wolf and OP9 Lovers in hot pursuit, but they're not able to catch up.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a rough situation, as it's going to be double crab. Oh, not double crab, actually, but a late blue buff taken by this Trundle, as Expo going to be on that bottom side of the map. So if there is any action or any, motion towards there from Shifo, Expo's going to be there to quash that out. And interestingly enough, Reeve is down in CS, despite getting that wave pushed in, which is a little bit of a from me.
Yeah, I mean, they just focused on trying to hit level 2 to try to push their advantage, and, haste makes waste, and sometimes you're going to miss CS. A Fishing Frenzy, I thought really needed to flash that earlier, does now, but, yeah, they were a little bit too hasty in trying to push their advantage. Now I think they're being quite wise here and allowing Expo to come around the side. But they don't know that Shifo is nearby. They've gone on to Reeve. Expo from the side. OP9 Lovers is low. They're going to try to find a kill on Echo. He's going to have to burn a flash. Here comes the teleport. No, it's First Blood going over to Yuumi. Yucca is down here. However, they're not able to impact the fight anymore. Fishing Frenzy is going to walk their way back as well. And Maria with a nice bubble to delay the back timer a little bit. That's pretty good stuff. And it's First Blood going over to the Dryads once again.
Yeah, it's First Blood going over to Dryads, but this might actually benefit the side of Maria's dungeon a little bit more. You had the flash burned off of Malphite. Yucca teleports down and is so late getting back to this top wave. Malphite will get all of that CS and should be able to freeze. If they freeze this properly, Yucca is going to be in trouble. You can see Shifo already moving up there. But interestingly enough, look at the buy from OP9 Lovers. Look at the buy from Reeve. Reeve is in a better spot in this lane right now.
Well, that's also because Reeve opened with the longsword and pots, as opposed to Vayne, who opened with the Doran's blade, which I can kind of understand, especially against an aggressive lane where you want to still maintain a little bit of damage. You want the HP, you want the Omni Vamp. You're pretty cool with that. But, you know, it does set your build behind a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why no matter what, even if it's a rough lane, a lot of people are taking longsword because you get 3 health potions still, and you have that Yuumi. It may not be the worst case scenario. So for the time being, Reeve is going to be in a better spot. OP9 Lovers has to still play extremely careful because that is still a Lucian Nami that you're staring down the barrel of. Of note, Fishing Frenzy did not get the chance to freeze that wave because it hit tower, but Yucca still going to be behind the curve in terms of farming for a little bit, and will actually just take another back here as Fishing Frenzy going to get that level 6, still has the teleport to impact the map as Expo trying to take down that dragon.
Expo's been doing his thing, and, you know, whenever he's behind a little bit, he always puts a focus on those dragons. You saw it in the last game, you're seeing it in this game, looking to take whatever advantages they can. This player just has really good instincts for the game, and they probably need to play more solo queue, because let me tell you something, that is a damn good player that needs to be playing solo queue.
Or maybe it's better that they don't, because otherwise they just hate the game.
I mean, that's also true.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Listen, I don't hate the game when I play solo queue.
I do.
You know, it's not hard to not hate the game when you play solo queue.
You are
let me ask you something. What rank are you?
Platinum 4-0 LP right now.
Why do you hate yourself? Platinum is like, I don't know, Platinum's not that great because everybody thinks they should be higher ranked. Gold is really the sweet spot.
Potential.
It really is, because you get the fun games out of gold, but you know, then you're gold. You're not like, you know, platinum or something like that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Plat 1 was the worst experience I ever had many years ago. It was not fun.
Yeah, it's more so the mentality that there are lots of games still in Platinum that are inherently unwinnable. That is my mentality behind it.
Yeah, that happens. Sometimes, so I mean, you know, there are always going to be a subset of league games that just are fairly unwinnable. Yeah. There are less than you think, but the problem is you need to be really good to get yourself out of some situations that are winnable, and you know, not everybody is going to be able to do that. Exactly. Maria's dungeon were able to get themselves out of a position that was pretty unwinnable last game, and you saw what happened. They overcame the 10k gold deficit, and so far it's not looking like they're going to be that far behind. They are behind, but just a little bit.
Yeah, they're a little bit behind. A lot of that is just based off of First Blood. That's basically it right now. That's where that goal difference is happening, and it's on the Yuumi. While that's not the worst member to have it on, it's still a Yuumi. I mean, it's not anything too special to get a kill on, but regardless, I think at this point, they are playing their lanes out a lot better, at least their early stages of this game a lot better than last game, in the sense that they're not just hemorrhaging out gold for no reason.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Yuumi, it looks like they're heading toward the Moonstone instead of the Ludens that we've seen a lot of professional Yuumis at Worlds do. Obviously Worlds happening about a month ago at this point. Very surprised to see that. Also surprised to see Fishing Frenzy have some problems in the top lane, and Tanner is in a little bit of trouble in the mid lane as well. Will try to steal the Seraphine ultimate, but will not be able to do so in time. There's a very solid gank from Expo as they are able to pick up their first kill of the game, and the Expo train might start pulling out of the station soon.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yucca's going for it.
Yep, Fishing Frenzy is going to have to use that unstoppable force to get out of there, and they will just barely be able to do so, forcing the flash out of Yucca. So you're pretty happy with that, all things considered.
Yeah, especially since Fishing Frenzy hasn't had to use that flash in the last 5 minutes since, well, burning the flash. So had the flash available, didn't opt to use it, just opted to use that unstoppable force and ends up getting a really good play out of it. Burning ult for ult, but getting the flash as well is incredibly advantageous. While you can't find that teleport play that maybe you need to push this lane further into your advantage, you still get the flash out of Aatrox. I think that's always a win.
Yeah, you'll take that. You know, your ult's going to come back a little bit sooner. Oh. Here comes the tidal wave out of Maria. OP9 Lovers just trying to survive at this point. The culling doing quite a bit of damage. But the heals from Yuumi will come out. The mana bar getting lower and lower. But looks like the bottom lane of Maria's dungeon will opt to back off. They will take the lane pressure, go and get a reset. Lucian's going to get some boots and a ward. All right. The bot lane's got boots and it's got cats. Boots and cats and boots and cats and, you know.
Yes. Except Yuumi will never buy boots because it's Yuumi.
Yeah.
That's why it's boots and cats, not boots on cats.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, that's why it's also not boots on Cass as well, because Cassiopeia can't buy boots.
Yeah, and somehow Nami still is able to buy boots, although canonically I'm pretty sure she puts them on her head.
Yeah, it's, you know, shoe on head. The very popular, a very popular political YouTuber. You know, that's just their champion. You know, you just put the shoe on the head.
Yes. I have no idea what you're talking about.
She's a popular political YouTuber, I guess. She's really cute, so I guess so a lot of people follow her. A lot of people follow her because of that. But she's really smart too. Anywho,
so is Caitlyn.
Yeah, Caitlyn. I mean, you know,
as we've talked about, Caitlyn is mommy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's not something I expected to be announced to on stream, and that is your feelings that Caitlyn is mommy. I'm a Vi fan myself. However, it looks like the Dryads they're a fan of dragons.
Oh, what have we got?
They don't care. They don't care for your league girls. They like big scaly lizards, and they will be taking down.
They obviously care for our league girls because they're playing Seraphine and Nami in the same game, but.
What have we done?
This is what happens when the game is too slow. Oh.
It's not slow anymore. Tanner will fall for the second time. And Rift Herald will take a turret. Rift Herald was taken while we were talking about political YouTubers. And even the bot lane in a 2v1 could be in a bad position. The final hour with the flash. The final chapter as well. OP9 Lovers will find their first kill of the game. However, at the cost of mid-turret going down. So while the Dryads do get one back, they are beginning to fall behind in gold right now. It's about 2,500. Shifo in a 1v3. I don't know what the heck you're thinking here. The pings are coming out, but they cannot find their way to OP9 Lovers. Tanner from the backside.
Tanner doesn't have ult, though.
To make a play. No ultimate, as you said, will have to back off. Are they going to be able to speed up Tanner? No. Going to be rooted, so a teleport expended there for no payoff, and Maria's dungeon one step ahead.
And yes, it has been a relatively slow game in terms of kills, but the last minute or so shows that Dryads seem to just be a little bit off kilter. They seem to be on... They're in the same chapter, but they're on different pages. So they're close, but it's close but no cigar. And unfortunately, the Graves is the one who's really benefiting from them not having that cigar, because he has the cigar instead. And you know, 1, 1, and 2 has taken part in all 3 of those kills, and picking up first tower, that's a decent amount of gold, and they're up, you know, 2,500 gold now. This is a good position. 3,500 gold, actually. This is a great position for the side of Maria's dungeon as they continue to move forward into the later stages of this game.
If I do describe the Dryads right now, this triangle goes in the square hole, as again they are trying to make plays that are unable to make. OP9 Lovers is in a little bit of trouble. Does not have ultimate. Does not have flash out. Never mind. Does have the ultimate. The final hour is burnt there. But it will not matter. Shotgun to the face. 2-1 and 2 on Expo.
Yep, Expo able to sort of wait that out. Really well played by Reeves to tank up the tower to start that one off. They forced the teleport out, actually, of Yucca, and this opens up top lane for Fishing Frenzy. Fishing Frenzy has literally done what most of the time you hate your top laner for doing, which is sit top lane and do nothing, except push. And yet it is working out because Yucca has burnt teleport twice to absolutely no benefit. Sort of teleported down as an afterthought for first blood and teleported down again as sort of a excuse me moment as OP9 Lovers was already dead. So gets a little bit of CS off of it, but realistically, Yucca has not had the sort of early game impact that we wanted to see out of the Aatrox into the Malphite, where Malphite can't really punish you apart from throwing the cheese wheels at you. And since Shifo did not spend any time up there, they were not able to pick up a kill despite the early flash being burned by Fishing Frenzy as well.
Yeah, and it's a shame for Yucca. They've just been a stone's throw away from getting a couple of kills on Malphite. I just were unable to convert on them. You know, we saw how many times so low, just trying to get away, and they were able to. And, you know, like you said, that's resulted in them being unable to really convert what small lead that they had. But now that they have Gore Drinker, things could change. That being said, they're still sending Aatrox to the top lane. OP9 Lovers has spotted that one out. The final hour is there. The tumble went into the same spot, using the teammates to extend the encore. And what an encore that was. They pulled the same play off twice, as OP9 Lovers will fall once again. Maria's dungeon getting all of the picks. Down to the dungeon you go.
And this is really good for Reeve overall, because they've been able to just completely free farm for the last 2.5 minutes here. They got the kill under the tower. Vayne walks back to lane after respawning and dies immediately. And that's sort of the feels bad, man. Tanner might be in trouble, though, here. Ooh.
Not sure how much CC they actually have to make anything happen. Yucca trying to do something, anything to Fishing Frenzy, but is taking more damage from the turret than expected. And here comes the engagement. Yuumi here on top of Shifo. Yuumi the one taking the aggro. Oh, never mind. They balanced the aggro properly. Good stuff, good stuff. You know, it's easy to panic in moments like that. So finally, the Dryads have a sign of life. They're able to pick up a kill. However, they lose a turret in the bottom lane for it. And all the gold going over to Reeve.
And Expo's on the bottom side of the map for the dragon that is spawning in 5 seconds. Everyone's just going to rotate over to this dragon now, while Shifo is able to help out, pick up a kill for Yucca on that top side of the map. It's onto the Malphite, who... It's like that meme. Malphite literally doesn't do anything. And Malphite this game, realistically, compared to the rest of the team, literally does nothing. He did not buy a Sheen, though, so he's not cocky, but... not really doing a whole lot, just sort of sitting there. And Fishing Frenzy's fine to do this. Fishing Frenzy is just sort of entertaining Yucca, being the court jester here, and might actually do something here.
Yeah, he's got the Bramble. Yucca can't heal. The ultimate is not up, but the flash is. Shifo trying to help out. There's the cheese wheel. The
he did something.
Fishing Frenzy flashing forward, finding a kill. And now in the bottom lane, things are happening, but in the top lane, Trundle looking to take a bite out of the rock. The rock candy picking up a kill. The Nami tidal wave that was pulled away from Tanner, making a cameo appearance, but not doing all too much, as Shifo finds their second kill of the game, looking to be the lone bright spot for the Dryads so far. The gold lead up still about 4,000 right now, so it's not over for the Dryads, but it's certainly not looking great right now. They are going to close it a little bit with the advent of taking the turret in the top lane.
It is a good sign to see them take advantage of Fishing Frenzy. It's unfortunate that Yucca dies, though, there, because, you know, we literally said that this Aatrox needs to try and do something to this Malphite, and they were unable to get an assist on the second kill, and they also got solo killed by the Malphite. That's not really what you want to see if you're Yucca there, but I think this Aatrox just needs to try and find these flanks in these team fights, and I think that's the importance of this next teleport that's going to be spawning in about a minute. Yucca needs to try and find an angle into this fight to not hit Malphite. To hit literally anyone but Malphite, to try and pop off, get those World Ender stacks going, and kind of just scream angrily throughout the duration of a team fight while letting OP9 Lovers get that damage down onto Malphite. Because Vayne is the answer to Malphite, not Aatrox.
You know, somebody who needs to be hitting Malphite has to be Tanner in some of these team fights. You know, eventually these guys are going to group up, and he's going to need to steal these impactful ultimates. Tanner hasn't done a whole lot yet, and Fishing Frenzy, engaged on by OP9 Lovers, trying to get the slow down in the bot lane, is able to ult away. Top lane turret going down as another Rift Herald secured for the side of Maria's dungeon, and we talked about it. They just seem to play the map better.
Oh my goodness, and Yucca takes a whole lot of damage from Lucian Nami.
That's a big calling. Expo finds the kill, and the bottom lane Fishing Frenzy will fall. OP9 Lovers picking that one up. But Shelly, while no longer standing, that's 2 turrets on the top side taken.
Yeah,
for Maria's Dungeon. And like you said, in the mid lane, Sweetie Pie also continuing the push. Expo, Maria, and Reeve are trying to break the base now.
Oh my.
Sub 20 minutes, they will knock down an inhibitor turret, and Tanner of all ultimates is able to take Graves' ultimate.
Takes the Graves ultimate, I think maybe because the Seraphine ultimate was on cooldown or the Nami ultimate was on cooldown, something along those lines, but really this Sylas hasn't had the impact that we've wanted it to see. Has stolen Malphite ultimate exactly 0 times.
Malphite hasn't been around, so.
Tanner gets the stop with that ult. I don't think they know what's going on here,
oh,
though.
No. Oh no! There were 2 champions there. There were 2 members of the Dryads there.
You hate to see it.
The Grove has been flooded. The Dryads have fallen. And Maria's Dungeon looking to add Baron Nashor as a prisoner.
And this is just... It's looking pretty doomed for the side of Dryads, of course. As casters, we gotta try and stay positive, but at the same time, it's difficult when there's a 7,500 gold lead. And not a lot of it is off of kills. Once again...
gold lead last game.
Yes, there was a 10k gold lead in favor of Dryads, but... It just feels like Dryads have lost sort of their mojo in some ways. You can see Expo has been unlocked, has that sort of advantage that we talked so much about quashing on the side of Dryads, but even the Seraphine in the mid lane from Sweetie Pie, 3, 0, and 3 looking so potent. 2 full items now, building towards potentially a Rabadon's. This is not your average, neighborhood Seraphine who's just going to be going for a walk in the park, giving you a 300 health heal. This is the Seraphine that's going to walk up to you, drop that high note, and deal 800 damage to you.
You're not going to win a whole lot of games when your solo lanes are combined 0, 5, and 1. There is still time based off of the type of champions that they are. Tanner can make plays on the Sylas still. Sylas is a very strong champion if you can get him to his power spikes. Same goes for Aatrox. It is not over yet. The Dryads, it looks like they have the positioning on this dragon, but they're just going to walk away and give it away. They're going to give away Soul Point. And, you saw in the last game when Maria's Dungeon was down, they did not give away these Soul Points. They didn't give away the dragons to begin with. They went and they contested them and they took them. And it just feels like the Dryads are just ambivalent to these dragons.
Yeah, they're nowhere close. They're not able to walk up. They're not able to take any sort of fights because they're so scared of the Seraphine Nami combo. They're scared of the Lucian ultimate just shredding through the team. They're so scared of Malphite ultimate coming on top of that. And Pixel Wolf has to be scared because they just took 70% of their health bar.
Yeah, unfortunately, guns and cats don't mix very well. I would not know, but I'm just making an assumption there.
Pretty good assumption, I think.
Reeve getting potentially caught out here by Shifo. OP9 lovers charging forward along with Yumi. Yumi gonna hop on top of Shifo. They're burning a whole lot for Reeve. Reeve trying to do everything they can to survive and just delay and waste time trying to kite it out. Will fall to Shifo, but the bottom inhibitor turret goes down. They're going, my kingdom, my kingdom, my kingdom for a kill as the bottom inhibitor falls as well. And there's not going to be a flank attempt from the jungler and AD carry. They're just going to back and let Maria's Dungeon walk away.
And of note, the most important inhibitor to be down for the next Baron is going to be that bot lane inhibitor. It's going to have 80 seconds until it respawns when that Baron spawns again, so they get the right inhibitor. That top lane one as well is exposed. They could just walk up there with Baron or not and just take that to open up Infernal Soul for themselves. They're just playing this methodically. They don't need to go for these aggressive kills. They're up 9,000 gold right now, and despite this being one of our slower micro games, macro-wise, it has been blistering pace from the side of Maria's Dungeon.
Yeah, it feels like Maria's Dungeon is always doing something. They are always making a macro positive play. They are securing that vision. You take a look on the bottom side of the map. They've got all of these spots warded. They know where everybody is. They've secured all the Drakes. Look at all the camps that are alive on the map. Trick question. There's not a whole lot of camps alive.
Or
They've
towers.
Just been picking... No, or yeah, but the towers, they're gonna fall. People forget about the jungle camps unless they're named Expo. 212 CS right now, the most in the game, sparing no expense, choking the life out of the Dryads.
Yeah, and Reeve gonna go for the play again? Oh.
You know, Tanner just used Malphite ultimate, I think. It's now on cooldown. Whatever ultimate he had.
Oh.
Shivo Sterix getting a burn. Tanner unable to go in. Here's a big knockup. He'll flash, but Yucca gets caught in the line of sight of the Malphite. And this could be the final push, to be honest with you. They don't have minions, so they might have to back off here, but there are more minions coming in shortly. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the super minion wave, nobody was able to tend to it, so that's going down as well. And the final inhibitor turret will fall. And the Dryads, they look like they might go down with a whimper, not with a bang. It's a 5v4. Yucca still down for 15 seconds. And like you said, they're looking for 3 inhibs, looking to go total scorched earth on these guys.
And the main thing is that there's no wave clear. Who is the wave clear supposed to be for the side of Dryads here? Your Vayne isn't going to wave clear especially well. Your Sylas isn't going to wave clear especially well. Your Sylas is just going to be dead.
Yeah. The only thing that's getting cleared is the Sylas. Yucca has respawned into a 5v4 once again on the power play. Is Maria's dungeon. They still have ultimates. They still are able to engage a fight. They take the first turret. Reeve dashing forward. Maria drops the wave, and everybody says, count me in, as this is assuredly the final fight. OP9 Lovers falls. The Yumi will fall. Triple kill for Expo. I can't think of a better player to put an exclamation point on this series and on this playoffs. Maria's Dungeon comes in and runs the Dryads off of Summoner's Rift, and they are your Black Twitch League Grand Final champions.
A great series all around from the side of Maria's Dungeon. They were just able to wreck shop from day one in some ways. They didn't have the best regular season. I shouldn't say that they wrecked shop from day one. They wrecked shop from, I'd say, week 5. And they just started to turn on the
roster
Jets.
Had a bunch of turnover.
Their entire roster.
Season.
Every week it seemed like they had a different player, but they were able to find that roster that could stick with them, with Sweetie Pie, with Reeve, with Maria playing support, of course, Fishing Frenzy and Expo on that top side of the map. Just, it worked so well together in the end. They're able to pick up the 3-0 sweep, and they just sprinted through playoffs here. They didn't even play a semifinals match because of some unfortunate circumstances, but in the finals, they just speedran it.
Listen, Sweetie Pie was the greatest late season pickup of all time. Don't at me. Because Sweetie Pie came in through, I think, like the last week, and that's how they were able to knock off Dino Club. And I think once Maria realized that, was like, whoa, we just beat the best team in the league. You know, like, yeah, they might have been trolling a little bit, who knows? But our mid laner came up huge. We need to keep this person. And you know, they were quite literally flawless throughout playoffs. I don't think they dropped a game.
No, I don't believe they dropped a game throughout the entire playoffs. It was a 7-0, so despite there being a little bit of a gimme in the semifinals, they still won enough games to get them to this point. They had to go through that gauntlet, beating both of those glacial teams to get to this point, and all things considered,
they had to get into the playoffs. You know, they finished 4-3. Playoffs were not assured for them.
Yeah,
they were assured once they hit like, I think like 4-3 or 3-3 even, but like, you know, you still have to like win those games. You have to still get there. You know, that's definitely a scary prospect. And for the Dryads, it looks like, you know, they just ran out of gas. They had that miracle upset last week, and sometimes when that happens, you get emotionally exhausted, and they came out flat in game 1 with a weird team composition, and they realized they had to bounce back, and they did. They came out strong in game 2, but again, falling in dramatic fashion in game 2. And again, emotional exhaustion comes in for them, and they come out with a very flat game 3. They were lifeless that game. They barely fought back.
Yeah, in some ways, game 2 might have just been the straw that broke the camel's back, and unfortunately for Pixel Wolf and Dryads, they just couldn't recover from that in a lot of ways. It seemed as if in game 3 they just didn't have any of that energy that they wanted. So regardless, great season, though, coming out from Dryads. I don't think anyone expected them to be in this final either, so really well played from them to get to this point, and a lot of bright spots for them overall. Beating Dino Club to get to this point is one of those things that you can say is a crowning achievement as well.
Yeah, this is a competitive team, and when you have a competitive team, you want to keep them in the league. They like I hope these guys come back and they are able to run it back. I think this is a pretty solid roster, all things considered. Even though they only finished 4-3, this is a team that has shown that they can win a lot of games. And with their late season reconfiguration of moving Pixel Wolf to support and OP9 Lovers to AD carry, the team overall performed a lot better. Even though they still had moments where they could still swap it back and perform well. Got hats off to them. Although they did not play their greatest series today, and I'm sure they want Game 2 back. They still earned their spot here to make it to the finals, and we do have to give them credit for that. But the winners need to be praised, and I believe we have somebody for an interview.
We do have somebody for an interview. Who is that somebody?
You tell me, dog.
It is Reeve. Reeve is going to hop in for an interview.
Poor Reeve was just the bonus player that last game.
Listen, Reeve was soaking pressure in that last game.
Yeah,
but overall,
sometimes you end up as a bonus player, But like the games 1 and 2, certainly not a bonus player.
Had a great series, and thank you, Reeve, for joining us in the booth here. Congratulations on your victory. How do you feel?
It was pretty fun. I'm feeling pretty great. It was a good little 3-0, some quick cash. It was a fun tournament overall.
Hey, listen, we love to hear that. So, a couple of questions. I think the main question is the team as a whole did an excellent job of neutralizing the little swap that the Dryads pulled off, moving OP9 Lovers to AD carry and Pixel Wolf to support. What was the team's thinking? I'm sure they saw that last week and saw, they swapped and they got incrementally better and were able to take down what was the de facto best team in the league. So how did you guys prepare for that potential strategy?
So I'm gonna keep you really honest. We never scrimmed as a complete roster once, but we did know that their AD Pixel Wolf, or their support, I guess, this series really only played Seraphine. So we just targeted that champ, and we knew they would swap because I don't think she would want to face me on AD, considering how the series between us went previously when we last faced them. So it wasn't too bad. Mostly just abuse Ziggs. When they started banning Ziggs, just abuse Lucianami. Since for some reason they have like a weird Vayne only kind of meta.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a pretty good lane combination to take into a Vayne. Overall, I'm as a fan of bot lane myself, if you told me every time I got to play against a Vayne, I would get to play Lucian Nami, I would be a very happy man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what do you think about your late season roster swaps though? Because as we know, Sweetie Pie did come in later on into that season, and I think for us at least, that was sort of the turning point for your roster. Sort of walk us through how the roster changes affected your team internally.
So for a while there was like some issues between team members, like especially before I got picked up by Maria. They were struggling with having a consistent AD and their mid lane was falling off. Maria got tired of having to fill in for that lane, from what I know, from what she said. So when we picked up Sweetie, it was really good because she can handle the lane. She plays a lot of control mages, which is really nice. So as long as she's not inting, she doesn't even need a carry per se. She doesn't need to win lane. She just needs to come out even because we'll know Sweetie will perform by the end of the game. So if we're keeping Sweetie mid, we get to move Expo to the jungle and we get to keep Maria support by default. Like, it's just a stronger roster all around. Our confidence went up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you say like, oh, she's got to keep it even, just not in. I haven't seen Sweetie Pie int one time at all.
Exactly.
An incredibly consistent player, and really the team as a whole is just incredibly consistent players. Do you all think that you're the best in your roles in the Black Twitch League?
I would say yes. My ego is way too high. Coming into this league, this was a for fun league for me. Mario asked me as a favor, and I was like, sure, I'll just come in and play. I do unironically think Maria is the best support in this league. Same goes for Jungle Expo. Sweetie, I'm not sure. I haven't seen every mid laner that's played so far, but Sweetie's definitely the most consistent in my eyes. And Fishing, honestly, is unironically the best weak side warrior in any fucking team that I've seen so far. Like, every other team's weak side has always just ran it down and just lost consistently, compared to Fishing, who was able to hold it all together, soaking up all that pressure.
Yeah, he's even able to win sometimes, just being forced on weak side. That's got to be good to know for Expo, because then that means that Expo can just roam around the mid and bot side and, gives equal attention everywhere. What is it like having a jungler of that caliber just in the team's back pocket? Is he the
It's
shot
nice.
caller? Is he just like running
Uh,
around saying, I'm going to kill this person, and then just does it? Like, what's it like?
X was more of if he sees an opportunity to kill, he'll run over. It's mostly me saying what to do and when to do it, but Expo definitely just enables it so easily, especially when he's playing for bot side. He's letting me do what I want to do. It just works perfectly fine, especially against weaker bot lanes.
Shot calling AD carry is the hardest role in the game. I have tried and I have failed.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, last question before we let you go. Any winning words, from the podium? What do you got to say to everyone out there?
Real finals win.
Yo, I mean, if you want to play against the casting team, I'm sure we can pull something together.
Bro, I am down.
No, I was excited for was it a hard Dr. Pepper? Because they
Yeah,
were like
I
apparently
was
like
too.
insanely well.
Yeah, I
So
thought they were a great team. I was like, wow, these semifinals are pretty stacked, and it's just like, it's unfortunate whatever happened. But
yeah,
I know you guys would have had a great series against them, and it's a shame because in the end, like you said, for you, it was kind of doing it as a favor and as a for fun league type deal for you. You want to play as many games as possible, like where's the fun in not playing games?
yeah, exactly. You wanna struggle. You wanna see how close games get. It's fun going against your the best that you can do, the best you can perform.
How many bottles of champagne do you guys have in the dungeon for the party?
Oh, a lot. Maria treated us well tonight. She brought out everything. Instead of the store brand, she's actually bringing us the barefoot $14 bottle of champagne.
Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big dub. Let's
Let's
go.
Yeah,
go.
she's letting us celebrate tonight.
Okay.
That is awesome. Congratulations to you and your team. You all earned it. And we will hopefully are you gonna come back for next season? I know you said it's for fun, but I mean like you're a champion. You gotta defend that title.
It more depends of when the season starts. Like we didn't scrim at all because of me. Like I'm working double shifts at work this week because of the holiday season. So
Oh
16
my
hour
god.
days doesn't really give me time to play League with them.
Oh my
Only on
god,
the
that sounds
weekends.
awful.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But if Maria's down to just let me not show up for scrims, of course I'd be down to come back.
Hey, listen, you know what? I mean, you said you never scrimmed as a team, so like at this point, who needs scrims? I guess, right? Scrim results, as we see in pro play, scrim results are not reflective of what actually happens at times. So,
Yeah.
Otherwise, TSM would win Worlds every single year.
Reeve, thank you for being here with us. Congratulations to you and the rest of your team. Please send our regards to them.
I will do.
All right, excellent, everybody. Man, it's been a fun ride, but all good things must come to an end. That is it for this season of the Black Twitch League. I think it's season 11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So we'll be back for season 12, I assume. I don't know what
Eventually.
Yeah, I don't know what Ito's
Probably once the
I
new
don't
season
think,
starts. Let's be
yeah,
real.
I don't think Ito's closing this league anything or anytime soon. He is a fearless leader, a great man. I appreciate the opportunity that I had to cast. Thank you very much, Ito. Adam, thank you for being a great co-caster as always. It's been a great time casting with you, I should say, and casting all of these great teams. But that's it, man. It's over.
No, that's it for this season. Hope all of you enjoyed the broadcast tonight. Thank you, of course, Diani, for being my co-caster through all of these amazing games. But we will be back. This is not the end of Black Twitch League. Until then.
Course. Congratulations to Maria's Dungeon, your champions once again, taking it 3-0 over the Dryads. Thank you all so much for being here tonight for the Black Twitch League Grand Finals. From Yanni, RareAdam, let's see who else. Pixel Wolf helping us out on the back end. Your champion, Maria's Dungeon, your runner-ups, the Dryads, all of the teams, and the entire Black Twitch League family. Thank you, and have a great night. We will see you soon.